She thought hiding made her invisible. He thought power made him untouchable. But when Elena Moretti walks into a blind date dressed like she wants to disappear, she has no idea the man watching her across the table is New York's most dangerous mafia boss, and he's already decided she belongs to him. One broken woman, one ruthless king. A love built on lies that will either heal them or destroy them both. Stay until the end and drop a like and comment with your city so I can see how far this story reaches across the world. The rain came down hard the night Elena Moretti decided she was done being visible. Not dramatically done. Not the kind of done that makes you cut your hair or buy a plane ticket to somewhere nobody knows your name. Just quietly, carefully done. The kind where you stop wearing lipstick, stop meeting eyes. Stop letting men look at you like you're something they might want, because wanting leads to taking, and taking leads to the kind of pain that hollows you out from the inside. She stood in front of her bathroom mirror in a cramped Lower East Side apartment that smelled like old radiators and someone else's cooking, staring at the woman she'd become. No makeup, oversized gray sweater that hung past her hips, hair pulled back in a messy knot. She looked tired, plain, forgettable, perfect. 6 months ago, Elena had been different. Engaged to Marcus Whitfield, a real estate developer whose family owned half of Midtown. Back then, she'd worn silk dresses and smiled at charity galas and believed love was something that happened to good people who waited for it. Then she found Marcus in their bed with her former roommate, and instead of apologizing, he'd destroyed her, publicly, methodically. He told everyone she was unstable, controlling, that he'd caught her going through his phone, accusing him of cheating when he was innocent. The lie spread faster than the truth ever could. Within weeks, Elena's small circle of friends vanished. Her job at a boutique architecture firm became unbearable when clients started requesting someone else. She lost the life she'd built, brick by brick, because one powerful man decided her humiliation was easier than his honesty. So she learned to disappear. No dates, no risks, no men. Which made tonight particularly unbearable. "You're going," Sophia had said 3 days ago, cornering Elena in the back of the secondhand bookstore where she now spent most of her time, cataloging donations and avoiding the world. Sofia Martinez had been Elena's best friend since college, the kind of woman who wore red lipstick to the grocery store and refused to let heartbreak turn her cynical. "I'm not going on a blind date, Soph. You're going. His name is Luca. He's a businessman. Very polite. Doesn't talk much, which honestly might be perfect for you right now since you barely talk at all anymore. I don't care what you want. I care that you've been hiding in oversized sweaters for 6 months, like some kind of wounded animal. You're going. Wednesday, 7 p.m. That Italian place in Soho you used to love." Elena had tried arguing, tried explaining that she wasn't ready, that she didn't trust her own judgment anymore, that every time she imagined sitting across from a man, all she could see was Marcus's face, smug and dismissive, as he told their friend she was crazy. But Sophia was relentless. So here Elena stood, 20 minutes before she was supposed to meet a stranger, trying to convince herself this was fine. She'd go. She'd be polite. She'd make it clear within 10 minutes that there was no chemistry, no spark, nothing worth pursuing. Then she'd come home, crawl into bed, and Sophia would finally leave her alone. Easy. The restaurant was called Trattoria Luminosa, tucked on a quiet street where the cobblestones still pretended New York had charm. Elena arrived exactly on time because being late felt like trying too hard, and trying at all felt dangerous. Inside, the lighting was low. Warm. The kind of place where couples leaned close and spoke in soft voices. Elena's stomach tightened. She scanned the room, looking for someone who matched Sophia's vague description. Tall, dark hair, businessman. Then she saw him. He sat alone at a corner table, facing the door. Tall, yes. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark hair swept back, sharp jawline, the kind of face that didn't need to try. He wore a black suit that fit too well to be off the rack, a crisp white shirt open at the collar. No tie. His hands rested on the table, relaxed, confident. But it was his eyes that stopped her, dark, steady, unreadable. He looked at her the way a wolf looks at something that wandered into the wrong forest. Not hostile, just aware, calculating. Elena almost turned around. Then he stood. Smooth. unhurried, like he'd been expecting her to hesitate. "Elena?" His voice was low, controlled, the kind of voice that didn't need to be loud to be heard. She nodded, not trusting her own voice yet. "Luca Devereaux." He extended a hand. She shook it. His grip was firm but didn't linger. Professional. Which somehow made it worse, because it meant he wasn't trying to impress her with touch, which meant he didn't need to. They sat. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Elena stared at the menu like it held answers. Luca didn't pick his up. "Sophia says you're into architecture," he said finally. Elena glanced up. He was watching her. Not the way Marcus used to watch, like she was a possession he was cataloging. Different, patient. "Restoration, mostly," she said quietly. "Old buildings. Trying to bring them back." "Why?" The question caught her off guard. Most people didn't ask why. They asked what she was working on, how business was, surface-level things that didn't require real answers. Because, she hesitated, because things that survive deserve to be remembered. Luca's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes, like she'd said something he wasn't expecting. "That's a good reason." The waiter appeared. Luca ordered wine without asking her preference, which should have annoyed her, but he chose something light, something she would have picked herself. Then he ordered an appetizer to share and leaned back, giving her space. "Sophia didn't tell you much about me, did she?" he said. "No, just that you're a businessman and you don't talk much." "She's right on both counts." "What kind of business?" "Investments, private equity, security consulting." Vague. Deliberately vague. Elena should have pushed, should have asked follow-up questions, but she didn't, because part of her didn't want to know. Knowing meant caring. Caring meant risk. The wine arrived. Luca poured for both of them, and when he lifted his glass, Elena noticed something. He wore black leather gloves, expensive ones, soft, fitted, like they were part of his uniform. "You always wear those?" she asked before she could stop herself. He glanced at his hands. "Yes." "Why?" "Old habit?" He didn't elaborate. Didn't seem uncomfortable with the silence that followed. Most men filled silence. They talked about themselves, their accomplishments, their plans. Luca just sipped his wine and watched her like he had all the time in the world. It should have been creepy. It wasn't. Elena found herself relaxing, just slightly. Maybe it was the wine, maybe it was the fact that he wasn't performing for her, wasn't trying to charm or impress. He was just there, present, calm. "Sophia says you've been in New York a long time," she ventured. "Born here." "Family?" "My mother, a few cousins." "What about your father?" Luca's jaw tightened, just for a second, then smoothed. "He's not around anymore." Dead or estranged, Elena couldn't tell, didn't ask. The appetizer came, burrata with heirloom tomatoes. Luca nudged the plate toward her. "Tell me about the last building you restored," he said. And just like that, the subject shifted, away from him, toward her. Elena started talking, slowly at first, then faster. She told him about a brownstone in Brooklyn she'd worked on 2 years ago, how the owners wanted to gut the whole thing, and she'd convinced them to preserve the original moldings, the fireplace, the staircase. How she'd spent weeks researching the right materials, hunting down period-appropriate fixtures. Luca listened, really listened. He asked questions that weren't polite filler. He remembered details. When she mentioned the staircase, he asked about the wood type. When she mentioned the fireplace, he asked if the owners used it or just kept it decorative. Nobody had listened to her like that in months. By the time their entrees arrived, Elena realized something startling. She wasn't scared, not of him, not of this. For the first time in 6 months, she was sitting across from a man, and she didn't feel like prey. "Why'd Sophia set this up?" Elena asked suddenly. Luca cut into his steak, precise. "She thinks I need to meet someone normal." "Are you not normal?" He smiled. It was barely there, just a slight curve at the corner of his mouth, but it changed his whole face, made him look younger, almost human. "No," he said simply. Elena should have been alarmed, should have made an excuse and left. But instead she laughed, a small surprise sound that felt rusty coming out. "At least you're honest." "I try to be." Liar, something whispered in the back of her mind. But she ignored it. They finished dinner. Luca paid, waving off her attempt to split the check. When they stepped outside, the rain had started again, light and cold. Elena pulled her sweater tighter. "I'll walk you to the subway," Luca said. "You don't have to." "I know." They walked in silence. The streets were quieter now, just the sound of rain and distant traffic. Elena kept glancing at him from the corner of her eye. He moved like someone used to being watched, controlled, aware of every shadow, every approaching figure. They reached the subway entrance. Elena stopped, unsure how to end this. "Thank you for dinner," she said. "Can I see you again?" The question was direct. No games. No pretending this was anything other than what it was. Elena hesitated. Every instinct screamed at her to say no, to run, to disappear back into her safe, small, invisible life. But something about the way Luca looked at her, not hungry, not possessive, just patient, made her pause. "Maybe," she said finally. He nodded, pulled out his phone. "Your number?" She gave it to him, and he typed it in without comment. "Good night, Elena." "Good night." She turned and descended into the subway, heart pounding for reasons she didn't understand. When she glanced back, Luca was still standing there, hands in his pockets, watching her go. Not like a predator. Like a man making sure she got home safe. But Luca didn't move until Elena disappeared completely into the subway station. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed. "Boss?" The voice on the other end was rough, eager. "The woman who just went into the Spring Street station. I want 2 men on her, rotating shifts. She doesn't see them. She doesn't know. If anyone so much as looks at her wrong, I want to know about it." "Understood." Luca ended the call and stood in the rain for another moment, thinking. He hadn't lied to Elena. Not exactly. He was a businessman. He did run investments and security consulting. He just left out the part where those investments involved offshore accounts tied to illegal gambling rings, and the security consulting meant he controlled half the protection rackets in Lower Manhattan. Luca Devereaux wasn't just a businessman. He was the head of the Devereaux crime family, one of the oldest and most powerful mafia organizations on the East Coast. His father had built the empire. His mother had taught him to run it, and Luca had spent 15 years cementing his reputation as a man you didn't cross. Not if you wanted to keep breathing. He'd killed men, ordered worse done to others. He lived in a world where loyalty was bought with fear and respect was another word for terror. But when Elena Moretti had walked into that restaurant, dressed like she was trying to disappear, looking at him with those nervous, guarded eyes, something in Luca had cracked. She was soft, breakable, completely out of place in his world, and he wanted her more than he'd wanted anything in years. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, underneath the shapeless clothes and lack of makeup, but because she looked at him like he was ordinary. Luca couldn't remember the last time someone had looked at him without fear, calculation, or greed. Even his own people watched him like he was a loaded gun. His mother treated him like a business asset. The women who threw themselves at him wanted his money, his power, his name. Elena wanted nothing. She didn't even want to be on the date. That's what hooked him. Luca pulled his collar up against the rain and saw and started walking toward his car. A black Mercedes parked 2 blocks away. His driver, Anton, straightened when he saw him approach. "Home, boss?" "No, the office." Anton nodded and pulled into traffic. Luca settled into the back seat and stared out at the rain-slick streets. He should forget about Elena. She was a civilian, innocent, the kind of woman who restored old buildings and probably donated to animal shelters and believed people were fundamentally good. She had no place in his life. But Luca had learned a long time ago that wanting something and walking away from it were 2 very different things. And he didn't walk away. Ever. 3 days later, Elena's phone buzzed while she was elbow-deep in paint samples at the bookstore. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then curiosity won. "Hello?" "Elena, it's Luca." Her heart did something stupid in her chest. "Hi. There's an art exhibit opening tonight in Chelsea. Small gallery, Italian Renaissance reproductions. I thought you might like it." Elena hesitated. She had spent the last 3 days trying to convince herself the date had been a fluke, that the way she'd felt safe around Luca was just exhaustion, or wine, or desperation for human connection. But hearing his voice again brought it all back. I don't know. No pressure. If you're busy, I understand. The easy out. He was giving her an escape, which somehow made her want to say yes. What time? She asked. 7. I'll pick you up. I can meet you there. Elena. His voice dropped lower, not threatening, just firm. I'll pick you up. She gave him her address, then immediately regretted it. Letting him know where she lived felt like crossing a line. But before she could backtrack, Luca said goodnight and hung up. Elena stared at her phone. Sophia appeared from behind a bookshelf, grinning. Was that him? It's not a big deal. You're going out again. That's a huge deal. You haven't gone out twice with anyone since Marcus. Elena didn't want to talk about Marcus. It's just an art exhibit. And he's just a guy who happens to be gorgeous and mysteriously wealthy and apparently really into you. You don't know that. Elena, he called 3 days after your date. Men who aren't interested wait at least a week to seem cool. This man doesn't play games. That was the problem, Elena thought. Luca didn't play games because he didn't need to. He operated on a completely different level, one she didn't understand. But she went anyway. Luca arrived exactly at 7 in a different car than she expected. Not flashy. A dark sedan with tinted windows. He stepped out wearing charcoal slacks and a black wool coat that probably cost more than her rent. You look nice, he said. Elena glanced down at herself. Same oversized sweater, different jeans, boots. I look the same as last time. I know. He opened the passenger door for her. Elena climbed in, and the interior smelled like leather and something else. Expensive cologne, subtle. Luca drove in silence for a while. Comfortable silence. The city slid past the windows in streaks of light and shadow. How's the bookstore? He asked. Good. Slow. We got a donation of first editions last week, mostly damaged, but a few are salvageable. You're restoring books now too? Same principle. Things that survive deserve to be remembered. Luca glanced at her. You really believe that? Don't you? He didn't answer right away, just turned his attention back to the road. I used to, he said finally. The gallery was small, intimate, maybe 30 people wandering between paintings under soft track lighting. Luca guided her inside with a hand on the small of her back, so brief and light she almost didn't notice. Almost. They moved through the exhibit slowly. Elena found herself relaxing again, talking about brushwork and composition and the way Renaissance artists played with light. Luca asked questions, made observations. He knew more about art than she expected. My mother used to drag me to museums when I was a kid, he explained when she commented on it. She said a man without culture was just a thug with money. Smart woman. She has her moments. They stopped in front of a reproduction of Caravaggio's Judith beheading Holofernes. Violent, dramatic, a woman holding a sword, determination and horror on her face as she killed a man. This one's intense, Elena murmured. It's honest, Luca said. Most art from that period was pretty lies. Gods and angels and perfect people. Caravaggio painted the truth, violence, fear, survival. Elena looked at him, really looked. His expression was calm, but there was something underneath, something dark and knowing. You relate to it, she said quietly. Luca's jaw tightened. Yes. He didn't elaborate, didn't need to. They left the gallery an hour later and walked through Chelsea as the temperature dropped. Elena shivered, and before she could protest, Luca shrugged out of his coat and draped it over her shoulders. I'm fine, she said. You're shivering. You'll be cold. I won't. The coat was heavy, warm. It smelled like him. Elena pulled it tighter and tried not to think about how long it had been since someone took care of her like this. Small gestures, unasked for, given freely. They walked until they found a late-night coffee shop, tiny and fluorescent, and filled with NYU students cramming for exams. Luca ordered 2 coffees, and they sat in a corner booth, knees almost touching under the narrow table. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Always. Why did you agree to this? The blind date, I mean. You don't seem like the kind of person who needs help meeting people. Luca stirred his coffee. Thinking. Sophia's husband, Marco, works for me, he said finally. He mentioned she had a friend going through a hard time. Said you needed to get out more. That's it? Pity? No. Luca looked up. His eyes were dark, serious. I said yes because Marco described you as someone who'd been hurt and was trying to rebuild. I understand that. You've been hurt? Everyone's been hurt, Elena. The difference is whether you let it make you cruel or careful. Which are you? Luca smiled, but there was no humor in it. Both. Elena should have been unsettled, should have seen the red flags waving, but instead she felt something else. Recognition, like looking in a mirror and seeing someone who understood. They finished their coffee and Luca drove her home. When they pulled up in front of her building, he didn't immediately unlock the doors. I want to see you again, he said. Luca, I know you're scared, I know you're not ready, but I'm asking anyway. Elena looked at him, really looked, at the sharp lines of his face, the controlled way he held himself, the patience in his eyes. She should say no, she should protect herself. But God, she was tired of being afraid. Okay, she whispered. Luca's expression softened, just for a moment. Okay. He walked her to her door, didn't try to kiss her, didn't ask to come inside, just waited until she was safely in the building before he returned to his car. Elena watched from her window as he drove away, her heart pounding. She didn't know who Luca Devereaux really was, but she was starting to want to find out. Over the next 3 weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Quiet dates, coffee shops and bookstores, and late-night diners where nobody looked twice at them. Luca never took her anywhere flashy, never showed off. He seemed to understand instinctively that Elena needed small, safe spaces. He listened when she talked about her work, remembered details, asked follow-up questions days later that proved he'd been paying attention. And slowly, carefully, Elena started letting her guard down. She stopped wearing the oversized sweaters, started adding small touches. A little mascara, earrings. Not for him. For herself. Because being around Luca made her feel less like she needed to hide. But there were moments when she'd catch him on his phone, speaking in rapid Italian to someone, his voice dropping into a tone she didn't recognize. Hard, commanding. Moments when they'd be walking and men in dark suits would appear on the periphery, watching them from a distance. Luca never acknowledged them, but Elena noticed. Moments when someone would bump into her on the street and Luca would step between them with a speed and precision that seemed almost violent. She tried asking once, "Who were those guys following us earlier?" "Security." "Why do you need security?" "I have enemies." "What kind of enemies?" Luca had looked at her then, and for the first time she saw something dangerous in his eyes. "The kind you don't want to meet." He'd changed the subject, and Elena had let him, because deep down, she knew. She knew something was wrong. Knew Luca wasn't just a businessman. Knew the gloves and the guards and the careful way he never invited her into his real life meant something darker than she wanted to admit. But she didn't push, because for the first time in months, she felt alive again, until the night everything shattered. It happened outside a subway station in the East Village. Elena was leaving late from the bookstore, later than usual, because she'd been reorganizing the back room. Luca had texted earlier saying he was stuck in a meeting and couldn't see her tonight. She'd said it was fine. It wasn't fine. She missed him, which scared her almost as much as the feelings themselves. She was halfway down the subway steps when she heard them. "Hey, hey, sweetheart." 3 men, mid-20s, drunk or high or both, following her down the steps. Elena's stomach dropped. She walked faster. "Don't be rude, we're talking to you." One of them grabbed her arm. Elena spun, heart hammering. "Let go. Come on. Just want to talk. Buy you a drink." "I said let go." She yanked her arm free and kept walking, but they followed. One stepped in front of her, blocking the turnstile. "You think you're too good for us?" Elena's throat tightened. She looked around. The station was nearly empty. One elderly man sleeping on a bench. Nobody else. "Please," she said quietly, "just leave me alone." "Or what?" The man leaned closer. Elena could smell alcohol on his breath. Her vision started tunneling. This was how it happened. This was how women disappeared. Then a voice cut through the noise. "Step back!" Low, cold, absolutely lethal. The men turned. Luca stood at the top of the stairs, perfectly still. He ditched his coat. His shirt was rolled to his elbows, and his eyes were flat, empty. The scariest thing Elena had ever seen. Who the fuck are you? One of the men slurred. Luca descended the stairs, slowly, each step deliberate. I'm the man who's going to give you one chance to walk away. Yeah, or what? Luca smiled. It was worse than anger. He moved so fast, Elena barely saw it. One moment, he was 3 steps away. The next, the man who'd grabbed her was on the ground, clutching his ribs, gasping for air. The second man lunged. Luca sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and twisted. Something cracked. The man screamed. The third tried to run. Luca pulled out his phone, said one word. Here. Within 30 seconds, 2 men in dark suits appeared from nowhere. They grabbed the 3 attackers, dragged them up the stairs, and disappeared into a black van parked on the corner. Just like that. Elena stood frozen, shaking. Luca turned to her. The violence drained from his face. He looked almost scared. Are you hurt? She shook her head, couldn't speak. Elena, what just happened? Her voice cracked. Who were those men? How did they get here so fast? What did you... Let me take you home. No, tell me. Tell me who you are. Luca's jaw worked. He looked away. Not here. Then where? My place. I'll explain everything. I swear. Elena should have run. Should have gotten on the subway and blocked his number and never looked back. But she was shaking and terrified, and despite everything, the only person she wanted near her was him. So she nodded. Luca led her to his car, drove in silence through streets that blurred together. They ended up in Tribeca, in front of a sleek high-rise that looked like it housed millionaires and hedge fund managers. His penthouse was on the top floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, minimalist furniture, expensive art on the walls. It looked like a showroom, empty, cold, nothing like Luca. Elena stood in the center of the living room, arms wrapped around herself. Luca poured her a glass of water, set it on the coffee table, kept his distance. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. I already know. He looked at her, surprised. You're not just a businessman, Elena continued. I've known for a while. I just didn't want to admit it. Then why didn't you leave? Because I'm an idiot. Luca flinched. Elena sat down, suddenly exhausted. Tell me. All of it. So he did. He told her about the Devereaux family, about his father's empire, about the businesses, legal and illegal, about the people who worked for him, the deals he brokered, the violence he'd sanctioned. He didn't sugarcoat it, didn't try to make it sound noble or justified. He just told her the truth. When he finished, the silence was deafening. You're a mafia boss, Elena said flatly. Yes. And those men who grabbed your attackers work for me. How many people work for you? Hundreds. Elena laughed. It came out bitter, broken. I really know how to pick them, don't I? Elena, no, stop. She stood up, backing toward the door. I sat across from you and thought you were different. I thought you were safe. But you're just another powerful man who lies. I never lied to you. You didn't tell me the truth. That's the same thing. I know. Luca's voice cracked. Actually cracked. I know, and I'm sorry, but everything between us was real. The dates, the conversations, the way He stopped, took a breath. You're the first person in 15 years who looked at me like I was just a man. Not a monster, not a weapon, just a man. And I didn't want to lose that. Tears burned Elena's eyes. Well, you did. She turned and walked toward the elevator. Luca didn't follow. The doors closed. And Elena Moretti left the most dangerous man in New York standing alone in his empty penthouse, looking like she'd just destroyed him. Elena didn't sleep. She sat on her couch in the dark, still wearing her coat, staring at nothing. The radiator clanked. Someone upstairs was fighting. The same sounds as every other night in this building, but tonight they felt louder, sharper, like the whole world was pressing in. Her phone buzzed. Luca's name lit up the screen. She turned it face down. Waited. It buzzed again, then stopped. Good. She didn't want his apologies, didn't want his explanations. She'd spent 6 months rebuilding herself after Marcus destroyed her, and in 3 weeks, Luca had managed to crack every wall she'd carefully constructed, made her feel safe, made her feel seen, all while hiding the fact that he was exactly the kind of man she should have been running from. A criminal, a killer, a fucking mafia boss. Elena laughed, came out choked, hysterical. She thought Marcus was bad because he lied about cheating. Luca had lied about his entire existence. Her phone buzzed again. Different number this time. She answered without thinking. What? It's Sophia. Elena closed her eyes. Of course. Luca must have called Marco, and Marco must have told Sophia, and now here came the intervention. I don't want to talk about it, Elena said. Too bad. I'm downstairs. Buzz me in. Soph. Now, Elena. 5 minutes later, Sophia was sitting across from her, still in her work clothes, makeup smudged, holding 2 coffees from the bodega on the corner. Drink, Sophia ordered. Elena took the cup. Didn't drink. He told you, Sophia said. You knew. Not a question. An accusation. Sophia didn't flinch. Yes. How long? Since Marco started working for him. 3 years. Elena felt something cold settle in her stomach. You set me up with a mafia boss. Deliberately. I set you up with a good man who happens to have a complicated job. Complicated? Elena's voice rose. Sophia, he runs a criminal empire. He has people killed. He protected you tonight. He protected me from a situation that only existed because I was involved with him in the first place. Sophia shook her head. Those men were random drunks. They didn't know who you were. Didn't know who Luca was. They saw a woman alone and decided to be assholes. That's not Luca's fault. But the way he handled it saved you. Yeah, I heard. Sophia leaned forward. Elena, I know you're scared. I know this isn't what you signed up for. But Luca is not Marcus. They're both liars. Marcus lied to control you, to make himself look good while making you look crazy. Luca lied because he spent his entire life in a world where showing weakness gets you killed, and you made him feel something he hasn't felt in years. Maybe ever. He was scared of losing you. Well, he did. Sophia sighed, took a sip of her coffee. You know what Marco told me once? He said before Luca met you he was different, colder, meaner, the kind of boss people feared instead of respected. Then you happened, and he started changing, asking about people's families, giving second chances. Marco said it was like watching ice melt. Elena's throat tightened. That's not my responsibility. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying Luca didn't lie because he's a manipulative asshole. He lied because for the first time in his life, someone looked at him and saw a human being instead of a weapon, and he wanted to hold on to that for as long as he could. That doesn't make it okay. No, but it makes it understandable. They sat in silence for a while. Elena stared into her coffee. Sophia checked her phone. He's been calling Marco every 10 minutes, Sophia said quietly, asking if you're okay, if you're safe, if you need anything. I don't. Elena, I can't do this, Soph. I can't be with someone who lives like that, who hurts people, who operates in a world I don't understand. Then don't. Elena looked up, surprised. Sophia shrugged. I'm serious. If you can't handle it, walk away. Block his number. Move on. But don't lie to yourself about why you're running. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're not scared of Luca. You're scared of yourself. You're scared that even knowing the truth, you still want him, and that terrifies you more than anything he's ever done. The words hit like a slap, because they were true. Elena had felt it the moment she walked out of Luca's penthouse. Not relief, not safety. Loss. She'd wanted to turn around, wanted to go back, wanted to wrap herself in his arms and let him tell her it would be okay, even knowing it was a lie. And that made her feel weak, stupid, exactly like the woman she'd sworn she'd never be again. I need you to leave, Elena whispered. Sophia stood, didn't argue, just kissed the top of Elena's head and let herself out. Elena sat alone in the dark until the sun came up. Luca didn't call again. 3 days passed. Then a week. Then 2. Elena threw herself into work. The bookstore was launching a restoration project for damaged first editions, and she spent 12 hours a day hunched over crumbling pages, carefully repairing spines and corners with Japanese tissue and wheat paste. It was meditative, precise, control in a life that felt increasingly out of control. But Luca was everywhere. In the coat she still hadn't returned. in the coffee shop where they'd sat for hours, in the memory of his voice, low and steady, asking her about the last building she'd restored. She missed him. God, she missed him, which made her furious at herself. Sophia stopped by occasionally, brought food, didn't mention Luca. Marco apparently had strict instructions not to talk about his boss around Elena, which meant Sophia was respecting boundaries. Elena appreciated it. She also hated it, because part of her wanted to know, wanted to hear that Luca was a mess, that he was suffering, that she mattered enough to destroy him the way he'd destroyed her fragile sense of safety. Pathetic. On a Friday night, 3 weeks after she'd walked out of Luca's penthouse, Elena was closing up the bookstore when a woman walked in. Older, mid-60s maybe. Elegant in the way only old money could manage. Tailored coat, silk scarf, diamonds that looked real because they were. "We're closed," Elena said politely. The woman ignored her, walked slowly through the aisles, trailing gloved fingers over spines. "I'll give you 5 minutes to browse," Elena tried again. "But then I really need to lock up." "You're Elena Moretti." Not a question. Elena's stomach dropped. "Who are you?" The woman turned. Her eyes were dark, sharp, familiar. "Vivian Devereaux, Luca's mother." Oh, fuck. Elena's first instinct was to run. Her second was to stand her ground. She went with the second, mostly because her legs refused to move. "If you're here to threaten me..." "Threaten you?" Vivian laughed. It was cold. "Darling, if I wanted to threaten you, you'd know. I'm here because my son is a miserable bastard, and you're the reason." Elena crossed her arms. "That's not my problem." "Isn't it?" "No." "He lied to me. He spent weeks pretending to be someone he's not. I have every right to walk away." "You do." Vivian moved closer, studying her. "But you haven't." "I literally walked out of his apartment." "Physically, yes. But you're still here. Still thinking about him. Still punishing yourself for wanting him even after you know the truth." Elena's jaw tightened. "You don't know anything about me. I know you were engaged to Marcus Whitfield. I know he destroyed your reputation to cover his own infidelity. I know you've spent 6 months hiding from the world because one weak man taught you that being visible meant being vulnerable. How do you... I had you investigated the day after Luca's first date with you. Standard procedure. Anyone who gets close to my son gets vetted." Elena felt sick. "You had no right. I have every right. My family has enemies. Real ones. The kind who would slit your throat just to make Luca suffer. I needed to know if you were a threat, a plant, or exactly what you appeared to be." "And what did you decide?" Vivian smiled, thin. "That you're a smart woman who's spent too long making herself small. And that my son, for all his faults, saw something in you worth protecting." "I don't need his protection." "Yes, you do. You just don't want to need it." Vivian moved to the window, looked out at the darkening street. "Let me tell you something about Luca. His father was a brutal man. Effective, but brutal. He taught Luca that emotion was weakness, that caring about anyone made you a target. When Luca was 16, he made the mistake of falling in love. A girl from school, sweet, normal. His father found out and had the girl's family threatened, told Luca that if he ever saw her again, her father would lose his business. Her mother would lose her job. Her little brother would never get into college." Elena's chest tightened. "Luca ended it," Vivian continued. "Cut her off completely. She never knew why. He never told her. And he spent the next 20 years making sure he never cared about anyone enough to give his father, or anyone else, that kind of leverage again." "Why are you telling me this?" Vivian turned. Her eyes were hard. "Because you're the first person since that girl that Luca has let himself care about. And unlike every other woman who's thrown herself at him for money or status, you didn't want anything from him. You just wanted him. The man, not the empire. That man doesn't exist. He's a criminal." "He's both, and you know it. That's what scares you." Elena looked away. "I can't be with someone who hurts people." "He hurts bad people, Elena. Rapists, abusers, men who prey on the weak. Do you know what happened to those 3 men who attacked you?" Elena's stomach turned. "I don't want to know." "They're alive. Bruised, but alive. Luca had them beaten just enough to make a point, then dropped them at a police station with anonymous tips connecting them to 6 unsolved assaults. They're in jail now. Legal consequences. No murder. No disappearances. He didn't have to. Yes, he did. Because in his world, if you let an insult slide, it becomes permission. Those men touched you. If Luca had done nothing, every lowlife in the city would have seen you as fair game. He protected you the only way he knows how. Elena's hands were shaking. She shoved them in her pockets. I understand this is a lot, Vivian said, softer now. I'm not asking you to marry him tomorrow. I'm asking you to consider that people are complicated, that good men sometimes do bad things, and that walking away from Luca doesn't make you strong. It just makes you alone. I've been alone before. And how's that working out for you? The question hung in the air. Vivian pulled a card from her purse, set it on the counter. That's my number. If you change your mind, if you need anything, or if you just want someone to talk to who understands what it's like to love a man who lives in the dark. She left without waiting for a response. Elena stared at the card for a long time. Then she shoved it in a drawer and locked up the store. 2 more weeks passed. Elena's routine solidified. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. She stopped checking her phone for messages that never came. Stopped glancing at the street hoping to see Luca's car. Stopped lying to herself that she was fine. She wasn't fine. She was hollowed out, going through motions, existing instead of living. Sophia noticed but didn't push. Marco stopped by once with pastries and an apology for the whole situation. He looked genuinely sorry, which made Elena feel worse somehow. The bookstore restoration project was almost done. Elena had spent weeks carefully repairing a first edition of Jane Eyre, and now it sat on the counter, beautiful and whole, salvaged from damage, made useful again. She ran her fingers over the spine and tried not to think about Luca's words. Things that survive deserve to be remembered. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then did. Hello? Elena Moretti? Male voice, unfamiliar. Who is this? Someone who wants to talk about Luca Devereaux. Elena's blood went cold. I don't know what you're... Don't bullshit me. You were dating him, then you weren't. Now he's distracted, weak, making mistakes. I don't know what you want. I want you to understand something. Luca has enemies, serious ones, and right now he's vulnerable because of you, so you've got 2 choices. Either get back with him and stop being a distraction, or disappear completely so he can focus. Because if you stay in this middle ground, hovering around the edges of his life, someone's going to use you to hurt him. And trust me, sweetheart, you don't want to be used like that. Who is this? The line went dead. Elena stood frozen, phone still pressed to her ear. Then she grabbed her coat and ran. Luca's building looked different at night, colder, more imposing. The doorman tried to stop her, but she pushed past, heading straight for the elevator. Ma'am, you can't. Call Luca. Tell him Elena's here. Now. The doorman hesitated, then picked up his phone, spoke quietly, hung up. Go ahead. The elevator ride felt endless. Elena's heart hammered. She didn't know what she was doing, didn't know what she'd say, just knew that someone had threatened her, and despite everything, the only person she wanted was Luca. The elevator doors opened directly into his penthouse. Luca stood in the center of the living room, barefoot, wearing jeans and a t-shirt she'd never seen him in. He looked thinner, tired, younger, without the tailored suits and controlled demeanor. He looked broken. Elena. Someone just called me, she said, voice shaking. Threatened me, said I'm making you weak, that I need to either get back with you or disappear completely, or someone's going to use me to hurt you. Luca's expression went dead. What number? She showed him her phone. He took it, stared at the number. His jaw worked. Anton, he called. A man appeared from another room. Not the driver, someone else. Bigger, scarred. Trace this number. Find out who called her. I want a name in 10 minutes. Anton nodded and disappeared. Luca turned back to Elena. Are you okay? No, I'm not okay. Someone just threatened me because I broke up with you. I know. I'm sorry. Sorry? That's it? Someone knows where I live, where I work, my fucking phone number? I've had people watching you since you left. Elena froze. What? Security. Rotating shifts. You never saw them because they're good, but I wasn't going to let you be vulnerable because of me. You've been having me followed? Protected, not followed. There's a difference. Is there? Elena's voice rose. Because it sounds like you're still controlling my life without my permission. I'm keeping you alive. I didn't ask you to. I don't care. The words echoed in the huge space. Luca ran a hand through his hair, turned away. I don't care if you asked. I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you never want to see me again. I will not let anyone hurt you because of me. That's non-negotiable. Elena felt tears burning. This is exactly why I left. You don't get to make those decisions for me. Then what do you want me to do? Pull my guys. Let whoever called you tonight show up at your apartment? Let them use you to get to me? I want you to ask. I want you to include me instead of just deciding what's best and acting on it. Fine. Luca turned. His eyes were dark, desperate. Do you want me to pull security? No. Do you want me to leave you alone? No. Then what do you want, Elena? Because I'm drowning here and I don't know how to fix this. Elena's hands were shaking. She wrapped her arms around herself. I want the truth. All of it. No more secrets. No more protecting me from your world by keeping me ignorant. If I'm in danger, I need to know. If you're making decisions that affect my life, I need to be part of them. I need to be a partner, not a thing you protect. Luca stared at her. Something shifted in his expression. You want in? I want honesty. Elena, my world is... I know what your world is. I've had 5 weeks to think about it, and I'm terrified. But I'm more terrified of spending the rest of my life wondering what could have happened if I'd been brave enough to stay. Luca crossed the room in 3 strides, stopped inches from her, close enough that she could feel the heat coming off him. If I tell you everything, he said quietly, there's no going back. You'll know things that make you complicit, things that could get you arrested or worse. I can protect you from outside threats, but I can't protect you from knowledge. I'm not asking you to protect me. I'm asking you to trust me. For a long moment, Luca just looked at her, like he was memorizing her face, like he couldn't believe she was real. Then he nodded. Okay. Cheers. They sat on his couch. Luca poured whiskey. Elena didn't drink hers. And he told her everything, not the sanitized version from before, the real version. He told her about the drug routes he controlled, the politicians he paid off, the judges in his pocket. He told her about the protection rackets, the illegal gambling, the money laundering operations hidden behind legitimate businesses. He told her about the people he'd killed. Not many. 3, personally. All men who'd hurt women or children or threatened the stability of his organization in ways that demanded blood. He told her about his father's death, how it hadn't been natural, how Luca had been 25 when he took over, young and untested, and how he'd spent the first 5 years proving he was more dangerous than anyone expected. He told her about the constant threats, the rival families, the FBI investigations that came close but never quite stuck because Luca's lawyers were better. He told her everything, and when he finished, the silence was suffocating. Elena sat very still, processing. Her hands were cold. Say something, Luca said quietly. I'm thinking. Elena, I'm thinking. She looked at him. You've killed people. Yes. You break the law every day. Yes. You have blood on your hands. Yes. And you'll never be able to walk away from this completely. Luca's jaw tightened. No. Elena took a shaky breath. Okay. Okay? I don't know yet. I need time. Take all the time you need. But I need you to promise me something. Anything. No more secrets. If something happens that affects me, you tell me. Even if you think it'll scare me, even if you think you're protecting me, you tell me. I promise. Elena stood, started toward the elevator. Where are you going? Luca asked. Home. To think. Let me drive you. No, I need space. Elena, there's still a threat. Then have your guys follow me. But I need to be alone right now. Luca looked like he wanted to argue. Didn't, just nodded. Elena got in the elevator. The doors started to close. Elena? She looked up. Luca stood in the doorway, backlit by the soft lights of his apartment, looking more human than she'd ever seen him. I love you, he said. The doors closed before she could respond. Elena made it halfway into the subway before she stopped walking, stood on the corner, breathing hard. People flowed around her. The city moved like it always did. Indifferent, relentless. She thought about Luca's eyes when he'd said he loved her, raw, unguarded, completely unlike the controlled man she'd first met. She thought about Marcus, about the way he'd said he loved her too, right before he destroyed her reputation to save his own ass. Different. It was different. Marcus had loved what Elena could do for him, how she made him look, what she represented. Luca loved her in spite of what she was, loved her plainness, her fear, her broken edges. He loved her and it terrified him, which was maybe the most honest thing anyone had ever given her. Elena pulled out her phone, stared at Vivian's card, still tucked in her pocket. Then she dialed. Vivian answered on the first ring. "I was wondering when you'd call. I need to know something." "Ask." "Can you really keep me safe, long term, or am I just signing up to be a target for the rest of my life?" Vivian was quiet for a moment. "Anyone close to Luca is a target. That's the truth. But my son doesn't let his people get hurt. The only person Luca's ever failed to protect was himself. If you're with him, you'll have an entire organization watching your back, including me." "Why would you protect me?" "Because you make my son human again, and I need him to be human if he's going to survive this life." Elena closed her eyes. "I don't know if I'm strong enough for this." "Strength isn't the same as fearlessness, darling. Strength is being afraid and choosing to stand anyway. Are you going to stand?" Elena thought about the bookstore, about restored buildings, about things that survived and deserved to be remembered, about Luca's face when she'd walked out, about her own face in the mirror for the past 5 weeks. Empty. Safe. Alone. "I don't know yet," she whispered. "Then figure it out fast, because the people who called you tonight aren't bluffing." Vivian hung up. Elena stood on the corner for another 5 minutes. Then she made a decision. She didn't go home. Instead, she went to the bookstore, unlocked the door in the dark, sat at her workbench surrounded by damaged books and careful tools. Her phone buzzed. "Sophia. You okay?" "No." "Need me?" "No." "Luca?" Elena stared at the message for a long time, then typed, "I think I'm going to try." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Good. He's not Marcus." "I know. Do you?" Elena looked at the restored copy of Jane Eyre sitting on her shelf. Thought about how long it had taken to fix. How much patience, how many hours of careful work to make something broken whole again. "Yeah," she typed, "I do." She put her phone down, and for the first time in 5 weeks, Elena felt like she could breathe. But before she could stand up, before she could call Luca back, before she could decide what trying meant, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Different from before. She answered. "Hello? Elena Moretti. Who is this?" "FBI, Special Agent Carver. I'm investigating Luca Devereaux, and I think you might be able to help us bring him down." Elena's blood turned to ice. The man on the other end waited. "Miss Moretti, are you there?" "I'm here," she whispered. "Good. Because we need to talk. Soon. Before Devereaux realizes we're watching him. Before he has a chance to threaten you into silence. You're a civilian. You don't belong in his world. And we can protect you. But only if you cooperate." Elena's hands were shaking so hard she almost dropped the phone. "When?" she managed. "Tomorrow, 1 p.m. There's a coffee shop on Houston, Cafe Reggio. Come alone, don't tell anyone, especially not Devereaux. If he finds out you're talking to us, I can't guarantee your safety." The line went dead. Elena sat in the dark, surrounded by restored books and broken tools, and realized with horrifying clarity that she'd just stepped into a place where there was no safe choice left. Only impossible ones. Elena didn't call Luca. She sat in the dark bookstore until her legs went numb, phone clutched in her hand, staring at nothing. The FBI. They wanted her to betray Luca, to wear a wire probably, to gather evidence, to help them destroy the man she'd just decided to trust, the man who'd just told her he loved her. Her stomach turned. She leaned over the workbench and dry-heaved, but nothing came up, just bile and panic. She had 12 hours to decide. 12 hours to figure out if she was the kind of person who could look a federal agent in the eye and lie, or the kind who could betray someone to save herself. Because that's what this was. A choice between Luca and her own safety, between love and survival. Elena laughed. It came out broken. Of course this was happening. She'd spent 5 weeks convincing herself she could handle Luca's world, and the universe was calling her bluff immediately. Her phone buzzed. Luca's name. She stared at it. Didn't answer. It went to voicemail. Buzzed again seconds later with a text. Anton traced the first call. It came from a burner phone purchased in Queens 2 days ago. We're working on finding who bought it. You're safe for now. My guys are outside if you need anything. Elena's hands shook. She typed, I'm fine. Lie number 1. She waited for him to call, to push, to demand she come back to his place where he could watch her. But he didn't. Just, okay. I'm here if you need me. Elena locked her phone and sat in the dark until dawn. Cafe Reggio was crowded at 1 p.m. NYU students hunched over laptops. Tourists taking photos of the vintage espresso machine. Elena sat at a corner table, back to the wall, watching the door. She'd dressed carefully. Jeans, plain sweater. Nothing that looked like she was trying. Nothing that looked like she'd spent 3 hours this morning throwing up and debating whether to run. A man walked in. Mid-40s. Gray suit. Forgettable face. He scanned the room, eyes landing on her with the kind of recognition that made Elena's skin crawl. He bought coffee, took his time, then walked over and sat down without asking. Miss Moretti. Agent Carver? He pulled out a badge, flipped it open just long enough for her to see the FBI seal, then pocketed it. Thanks for coming. Elena said nothing. Carver leaned back. Casual. Like they were old friends catching up. You're probably wondering why I called. You want me to help you arrest Luca. Smart. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. He sipped his coffee. We've been investigating the Devereaux organization for 6 years. We know about the money laundering, the offshore accounts, the protection rackets. We know about the judges he pays off and the politicians in his pocket. But knowing and proving are different things. I can't help you. You're dating him. Was. Past tense. Carver smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. That's not what our surveillance suggests. You were at his penthouse last night, stayed for an hour, left upset. Got a call from an unknown number shortly after. Elena's blood went cold. You're watching me. We're watching him. You're just collateral. That's illegal. So is racketeering, murder, extortion, all things Luca Devereaux does regularly. Carver leaned forward. Look, I get it. He's charming, probably treats you well, makes you feel special. That's what guys like him do. They're predators. They find vulnerable people and manipulate them. He's not manipulating me. Then why'd you break up with him? Elena looked away. Let me guess, Carver continued. You found out what he really does. Got scared, ran, but now he's pulling you back in, telling you he loves you, promising he'll keep you safe. Classic abuser playbook. He's not an abuser. He kills people, Miss Moretti. The words hung between them. Carver pulled out a folder, slid photos across the table. Recognize any of these men? Elena looked. Her stomach turned. Bodies, crime scenes, blood. These are all connected to Devereaux, Carver said. Some he ordered, some he did himself. This one, he tapped a photo of a man with his throat cut, was a small-time drug dealer who tried to operate in Devereaux territory without permission. They found him in the Hudson. This one, another photo, a man beaten beyond recognition, was an informant, talked to us, ended up in a dumpster in Brooklyn. Elena pushed the photos away. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to understand who you're protecting. Luca Devereaux is not a good man having a hard time. He's a criminal who's very good at pretending to be human. What do you want from me? Carver pulled the photos back, closed the folder. I want you to get close to him again. Wear a wire. Record conversations. Get us evidence we can use in court. No. He'll go to prison, Elena, with or without your help. The only question is whether you go down with him. Elena's throat tightened. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're already complicit. You know about his crimes. You've accepted his protection. You've benefited from his money. If we decide to prosecute you as an accessory, we can make it stick. That's bullshit. Maybe, maybe not. Do you want to find out? Carver leaned back. Or do you want to cooperate? Help us put him away. Get immunity. Move on with your life. Elena's hands were shaking under the table. She pressed them flat against her thighs. I need time to think. You don't have time. We're moving on this soon, with or without you. How soon? Weeks, maybe days. Devereaux's getting sloppy, distracted. His enemies are noticing. There's going to be a war, and when it starts, everyone close to him becomes a target, including you. Elena stood. Her chair scraped loud against the floor. I'm leaving. Elena, don't contact me again. She walked out. Made it half a block before she had to stop and lean against a building, gasping for air. Her vision tunneled. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might burst. A hand touched her shoulder. Elena spun, fist raised. Anton stood there, hands up. Easy. It's me. Jesus Christ. Elena pressed a hand to her chest. You scared me. Who was that man? What man? Anton's expression didn't change. The one you were meeting, gray suit. Sat with you for 10 minutes. Who is he? Elena's mind raced. Anton had been watching. Of course he had. Luca's guys were always watching. A friend of my ex-fiancé, she lied. Wanted to warn me Marcus is back in town. Thought I should know. Anton studied her face, looking for cracks. Elena held his gaze, steady, calm, like her entire world wasn't collapsing. Does the boss know about this? Anton asked. No. And he doesn't need to. It's not important. If Marcus Whitfield is back in the city, it's fine. I can handle it. Anton didn't look convinced, but he nodded. I'll drive you home. I can take the subway. Boss's orders. You get driven everywhere until we figure out who made those calls last night. Elena wanted to argue, couldn't, because arguing would look suspicious. So she got in the car. Anton drove in silence. Elena stared out the window and tried to figure out how she was going to survive this. The FBI was watching Luca. Luca's guys were watching her, and she was caught between them with no idea who to trust. She didn't tell Luca about the FBI. That night, when he called, she kept her voice steady, told him she was tired, that she needed another day to think. He didn't push, just told her to be safe. The lie tasted like ash. Elena lay in bed and stared at the ceiling, thought about Carver's photos, about bodies in the Hudson and men beaten to death in alleys, about Luca's hands, the same hands that had held her so gently, that had poured her wine and opened doors and touched her face like she was something precious. Had those hands killed people? Yes. Luca had admitted it. 3 men, all of them terrible, all of them deserving, according to his own moral code. But who decided what someone deserved? Elena rolled over, pressed her face into the pillow. She thought about Marcus, about how he'd destroyed her reputation with lies, about how no one had stopped him, no one had punished him. He'd walked away clean while she'd lost everything. If Luca had been in her life then, Marcus would have paid. The thought should have horrified her. It didn't. God, what was wrong with her? Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Not Carver. Different. She answered. What? Elena Moretti? Woman's voice, young, scared. Who is this? My name is Rachel. I'm calling because I need your help. You know Luca Devereaux, right? Elena sat up. How did you get this number? Please, I just need to talk to you in person. It's about Luca, about something he did, something terrible. I don't know what you're... He killed my brother. Elena's stomach dropped. What? 2 years ago. My brother was a cop, undercover in Devereaux's organization. They found out, and Luca Devereaux executed him. Rachel's voice cracked. I know you're seeing him. I know you probably think he's a good person, but he's not. He's a murderer, and I need you to understand what kind of man you're protecting. Elena's hands were shaking. Why are you calling me? Because the FBI approached me too, asked me to testify. But I'm scared. If Devereaux finds out I'm talking, he'll kill me too. But if you help them, if you get them evidence, maybe I won't have to testify. Maybe we can both stay safe. I can't. Please, my brother had a wife, 2 kids. They'll never see him again because of Luca Devereaux. Don't let him get away with it. The line went dead. Elena sat frozen. A cop. Luca had killed a cop. Not a drug dealer, not an abuser. A cop. Someone trying to do the right thing. She ran to the bathroom and threw up. She called Sophia at 3 in the morning. Sophia answered on the second ring, voice thick with sleep. What's wrong? I need to see you, now. Elena, it's 3 a.m. Please. 30 minutes later, Sophia was sitting on Elena's couch in sweatpants and a jacket thrown over her pajamas, holding coffee and looking worried. Elena told her everything. The FBI, the meeting with Carver, the call from Rachel, all of it. When she finished, Sophia was quiet for a long time. Fuck, she said finally. Yeah. Did you ask Luca about the cop? No. Are you going to? I don't know. What if it's true? Sophia rubbed her face. Then it's true, and you have to decide if you can live with that. How am I supposed to decide that? I don't know, Elena. I don't have an answer for you. Sophia leaned forward. But I know Marco. And Marco doesn't work for monsters. He's a good man. He wouldn't stay with Luca if Luca was everything the FBI says he is. Or maybe Marco's in too deep to leave. Maybe. Or maybe the FBI is painting Luca as worse than he is because they want you scared, want you cooperative. Elena pulled her knees to her chest. What do I do? You talk to Luca, ask him about the cop, about Rachel's brother, and you watch his face when he answers. You'll know if he's lying. And if he's not? If he really did kill an undercover cop? Sophia's expression was grim. Then you decide if you can love a man who did that. And if you can't, you walk away. But you don't work with the FBI. Because the second you do that, you're not just walking away. You're putting a target on your own back. The Mafia doesn't forget snitches, Elena. Ever. Elena showed up at Luca's penthouse unannounced the next morning. The doorman let her up without question. The elevator doors opened. Luca was standing in the kitchen, barefoot, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, making coffee. He looked up, surprised, then guarded. Elena, we need to talk. He set the coffee pot down. Okay. Elena walked to the center of the living room, turned to face him. Did you kill a cop? Luca went very still. 2 years ago, Elena continued. Undercover officer. His name was Rachel's brother. Did you kill him? Luca's jaw tightened. Who told you that? Answer the question. Where did you hear this? It doesn't matter. Did you do it? Luca was quiet for a long moment. Then, yes. The word hit like a punch. Elena's legs felt weak. She sat down hard on the couch. His name was Detective James Norton, Luca said quietly. He'd been embedded in my organization for 8 months, feeding information to the FBI, getting close to my inner circle. He was good, smart. I almost didn't catch him. But you did. Yes. And you killed him. Yes. Elena's vision blurred. Why? Because he was going to get a dozen of my people arrested. Because his testimony would have destroyed families, sent men to prison for life, left their wives and children with nothing. He was doing his job. I know. Luca moved closer, stopped a few feet away. I know, Elena, and I'm not proud of it. But in my world, there's no middle ground. He was a threat. I eliminated him. He had a wife, kids. So do my guys. That's not the same, isn't it? Luca's voice hardened. You want me to feel bad for doing what I had to do to protect my people? Fine. I feel bad. I think about James Norton every fucking day. I think about his family, about the choice I made. But I'd make it again. Because that's what leadership means in my world. You protect your own, even when it costs you pieces of your soul. Elena stood. You're a murderer. I never pretended otherwise. You said you only killed bad people, rapists, abusers, but James Norton was a cop trying to stop criminals. From his perspective, yes. From mine, he was a threat to my family. Your family is a crime organization. They're still my family. Luca's voice rose for the first time. You think I don't know what I am? You think I don't understand that I'm the villain in most people's stories? I do. But I also know that if I go down, hundreds of people lose their livelihoods, their protection, their lives. So yeah, I killed a cop, and I'll carry that forever. But I won't apologize for protecting my own. Elena's hands were shaking. I can't do this. Then don't. What? Leave. Luca's expression was hard, cold. The mask she'd seen that first night back in place. If you can't handle who I am, what I've done, then leave. I won't stop you, won't chase you. You'll be safe. I'll make sure of it. But I won't pretend to be something I'm not. Not even for you. Elena stared at him, at the man she'd fallen for. The man who'd been gentle and patient and made her feel safe. The man who'd killed a cop. The FBI wants me to wear a wire, she said. Luca's expression didn't change. I know. You know? Anton told me you met with someone yesterday. Gray suit. Looked federal. I had him checked out. Special Agent Carver. 6 years on the Devereaux case. Luca's eyes were flat. So, yeah, I know. And you didn't say anything? What was I supposed to say? You were already pulling away, pushing me out. If I confronted you about meeting with the FBI, you'd have run. So I waited. Gave you space. Hoped you'd come to me. I'm here now. Are you? Because it sounds like you're here to say goodbye. Elena's throat burned. I don't know what I'm doing. Then let me make it easy. Luca moved closer. His voice dropped. If you work with the FBI, you become a target. Not just from me. From every organization in this city. You'll spend the rest of your life in witness protection, assuming you live long enough to testify. Is that what you want? No? Then tell Carver you won't cooperate. And if I don't? If I go through with it? Luca's jaw worked. Then I'll make sure you're protected until you're safely in federal custody. And then I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. You'd let me destroy you? I'd let you survive. The words hung between them. Elena felt tears burning. Why? Because I love you. And love means you don't get to control everything. Sometimes you just have to watch people make choices that break you and hope they survive them. Elena's chest ached. She wanted to cross the room, wanted to touch him, wanted to tell him she wasn't going to work with the FBI, wasn't going to betray him, but the words wouldn't come, because she didn't know if they were true. I need time, she whispered. How much? I don't know. Luca nodded. Okay. Okay? Take all the time you need, Elena. But know this. Whatever you decide, I'll love you through it, even if your choice destroys me. Elena turned and walked to the elevator before the tears could fall. The doors closed, and she broke. She didn't go home. Instead, she went to the only place that made sense anymore, the bookstore. It was closed, dark. Elena unlocked the door and sat at her workbench, surrounded by tools and damaged pages and the smell of old paper. Her phone buzzed. Carver. Time's up. We need an answer. Tonight. Elena stared at the message. Then another came through. Rachel. Please. My brother deserves justice. Don't let Luca Devereaux get away with this. Then Sophia. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Then Luca. I meant what I said. I love you, no matter what. Elena set her phone down, looked at the restored copy of Jane Eyre on her shelf, thought about all the hours she'd spent carefully repairing it, bringing it back from ruin. Some things could be fixed, some things were broken forever, and some things were never meant to be whole in the first place. She picked up her phone, dialed. Carver? It's Elena. Do you have an answer? Elena closed her eyes, thought about Luca's face, about the way he'd looked at her like she was the only good thing in his ruined world, about the cop he'd killed, about the choice she had to make. Yes, she said. I have an answer. And? Elena opened her mouth. The bookstore door exploded inward. 3 men in black masks rushed in. Elena screamed, dropped the phone. One of them grabbed her, slammed her against the wall. Luca Devereaux's girl? Elena couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Please. Wrong answer. Something hard hit the back of her head, and everything went black. Elena woke to the smell of mold and gasoline. Her head throbbed, vision blurred. She tried to move and realized her wrists were zip-tied to a metal chair. The room was dark except for a single bulb hanging overhead. Concrete floor, exposed pipes, some kind of warehouse or basement. She pulled against the restraints. Plastic bit into her skin. Drew blood. Easy. Elena's head snapped up. A man stood in the shadows, tall, broad shoulders, voice rough like he'd been smoking since childhood. Who are you? Her voice came out hoarse, broken. The man stepped into the light. Late 40s, scarred face, dead eyes. He wore expensive clothes that didn't match the violence in his expression. Name's Viktor Kozlov. You probably haven't heard of me, but your boyfriend has. Elena's stomach dropped. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play stupid. Luca Devereaux. You're his girl, which makes you leverage. Viktor pulled over a crate, sat down facing her. See, your boyfriend's been a problem for me. Keeps expanding into territories that aren't his. Keeps making deals that cut into my profit. I've tried being reasonable, tried negotiating, but Luca Devereaux doesn't negotiate. He takes. So you kidnapped me. So I'm reminding him that actions have consequences. Viktor leaned back. I'm going to call him soon. Tell him where you are. Give him a choice. He can back off my territories, give me half his operations in Lower Manhattan, and you live. Or he can refuse, and I send him pieces of you until he changes his mind. Elena's throat closed. He won't negotiate. Everyone negotiates when they have something to lose. You don't know him. Viktor smiled. It was worse than anger. I know men like him, men who think they're untouchable because they're smart and ruthless. But everyone's got a weakness, and you, sweetheart, are his. Elena forced herself to breathe. Think. The zip ties were tight. The chair was bolted to the floor. No windows, one door behind Viktor. She was trapped. How'd you find me? She asked. Wasn't hard. You're not exactly careful. That bookstore of yours doesn't even have security cameras. Viktor pulled out a phone. Now here's what's going to happen. I'm going to call Luca. You're going to tell him you're alive. Then I'm going to make my offer. And while he's deciding whether you're worth his empire, you're going to sit here and pray he loves you enough to give up everything he's built. And if he doesn't? Viktor's expression went flat. Then you die slow. And I make sure he hears every second of it. He dialed. Elena's heart hammered. She thought about Luca, about the way he'd looked at her in his penthouse, about the words he'd said. I'll love you through it, even if your choice destroys me. The phone rang. Once, twice. Luca answered. Who is this? His voice, cold, controlled. But Elena heard the edge underneath. Luca Devereaux. We need to talk. Silence. Then, Viktor. Good. You remember me. That'll make this easier. Viktor put the phone on speaker. I've got something that belongs to you. Where is she? Alive for now. Want to hear her voice? Viktor held the phone toward Elena. Luca. Her voice cracked. Elena, are you hurt? I'm okay. Viktor pulled the phone back. See? Alive. Now let's talk business. You've been expanding into my operations, taking my clients, undercutting my prices. That ends today. What do you want? Half of Lower Manhattan, everything south of Canal, all your operations, your clubs, your protection contracts, your distribution networks. Sign them over to me, and you get your girl back unharmed. Silence on the other end. Elena held her breath. No, Luca said. Viktor's expression darkened. Excuse me? I said no. You don't get to kidnap someone I care about and make demands. That's not how this works. She'll die. Then she dies. But I don't negotiate with dead men. Viktor's jaw tightened. He leaned forward. You think you can threaten me? I'm not threatening you, Viktor. I'm making you a promise. You have 2 hours to let Elena go unharmed and disappear from this city. If you don't, I'm going to find you. And when I do, I'm going to take my time killing you. I'm going to make it last, make it hurt, and everyone in your organization is going to hear you scream before they watch you bleed out. Viktor's hand clenched around the phone. You arrogant. 1 hour and 58 minutes. The line went dead. Viktor stared at the phone, then threw it against the wall. It shattered. Elena's blood ran cold. Luca had just signed her death warrant. Viktor stood, paced. His face was red, hands shaking with rage. He thinks he's calling my bluff, Victor muttered. Thinks I won't do it. Thinks I'm scared of him. You should be, Elena said quietly. Victor spun. What? He meant it. Every word. You're already dead. You just don't know it yet. Victor crossed the room in 2 strides, grabbed Elena's face, squeezed hard enough that her jaw creaked. He's not coming for you, sweetheart. He just threw you away to protect his empire. You're worthless to him now. Elena met his eyes. You're wrong. He didn't negotiate because he doesn't need to. He's going to find me, and when he does, he's going to burn your entire world down. Victor backhanded her. Elena's head snapped sideways. Blood filled her mouth. She spat, looked back at him. That all you got? Victor hit her again. Harder. Elena's vision blurred. Ears rang, but she didn't make a sound. Victor stepped back, breathing hard. Stupid bitch. You think you're tough? You think your boyfriend's some kind of hero coming to save you? No. Elena's voice was thick with blood. I think he's a killer, and you just gave him a reason. Victor pulled a knife from his belt. Long blade, serrated edge. Elena's stomach turned, but she didn't look away. I'm going to hurt you, Victor said. I'm going to make you scream. And I'm going to record every second and send it to Luca Devereaux so he understands what happens when he disrespects me. He moved closer. Elena braced. Then the lights went out. Complete darkness. Elena heard Victor swear, stumble, then gunfire, bright muzzle flashes in the dark. Someone screamed. Not Elena, not Victor. Someone else. The overhead light flickered back on. 2 of Victor's men lay dead on the ground. Anton stood in the doorway, gun raised. Behind him, more of Luca's guys poured in. Victor grabbed Elena, pressed the knife to her throat. Back off, he shouted. Back off or I cut her. Anton stopped, lowered his gun slightly. You don't want to do that. Like hell I don't. Tell your guys to drop their weapons or she dies right now. Victor, a new voice. Calm, cold. Luca stepped through the doorway. He looked different. Hair disheveled, shirt untucked, blood on his knuckles. But his eyes were the scariest thing Elena had ever seen. Empty, flat, completely void of mercy. Let her go, Luca said. Fuck you. Your guys dropped their guns, or I... You'll what? Kill her? Go ahead. Then you lose your leverage and I have no reason to let you live another 10 seconds. Victor's hand trembled. The knife pressed harder against Elena's throat. She felt the blade bite. Warm blood trickled down her neck. Luca's expression didn't change, but something in his jaw tightened. Last chance, Victor. Let her go. Walk away. Live. You think I'm stupid? The second I let her go, you kill me. You're right. I will. But if you hurt her, I'll make it last. Hours. Days. You'll beg me to end it. Luca took a step forward. So choose. Quick death or slow one. But either way, you're not leaving this building alive. Victor's eyes darted, looking for an exit. There wasn't one. Luca's men surrounded him, guns raised, no way out. This is your fault, Victor hissed to Elena. All of this. You got close to him, made him weak. Now we're both going to die because of it. No, Elena said quietly. Just you. She threw her weight backward. The chair tipped. Victor stumbled, trying to hold on to her. The knife sliced across Elena's shoulder instead of her throat. She hit the ground hard. Pain exploded through her back. Luca moved. Elena had never seen anything like it. 1 second he was 10 feet away. The next he was on Victor, slamming him against the wall. The knife clattered to the floor. Luca didn't use his gun, didn't need it. He broke Victor's arm with one clean motion, shattered his kneecap with a kick, drove his fist into Victor's ribs until something cracked. Victor screamed, begged. Luca didn't stop. Elena watched from the ground, still zip-tied to the chair. She should have been horrified, should have looked away. She didn't, because this was who Luca was. This was the truth she'd been trying to run from. The violence, the ruthlessness, the absolute certainty that he would destroy anything that threatened what was his. And right now, Elena was his. Luca finally stepped back. Victor collapsed, gasping, blood everywhere. Anton, Luca said calmly, take Elena to the car. Anton moved forward, cut Elena's zip ties with a pocket knife, helped her stand. Her legs shook. Wait, Elena said. Everyone looked at her. She walked over to where Victor lay crumpled on the ground, looked down at him, at the man who'd kidnapped her, threatened her, put a knife to her throat. "You were wrong," she said quietly. "Luca didn't throw me away, and I'm not worthless to him. But you? You're nothing. You were always nothing." Victor spat blood. "Go to hell." Elena turned away. Anton led her toward the door. Behind her, she heard Luca give an order, heard Victor start screaming again. She didn't look back. The car ride was silent. Elena sat in the back seat, pressed against Luca, his arm around her, her blood on his shirt. Anton drove. Nobody spoke. Elena's shoulder throbbed where Victor's knife had caught her. Her face ached from being hit. Her wrists were raw from the zip ties. But she was alive. Luca's hand was gentle on her arm. Careful. Like she might break. "You came," she whispered. "Of course I came." "You said you wouldn't negotiate." "I didn't. I told Victor the truth. He was dead the second he touched you. Negotiating would have just given him time to hurt you more." Elena leaned into him. "How'd you find me?" "You butt-dialed Carver. He heard everything, called me. We triangulated your phone." Luca's voice was tight. "I'm sorry. I should have had more security on you. Should have anticipated—" "Stop." "Elena, stop." She looked up at him. "This isn't your fault. Victor made a choice. You responded. That's it." Luca's jaw worked. "I would have burned this entire city to find you. I know. I would have killed everyone in my way. I know. I still might kill Victor, slowly, the way I promised." Elena was quiet for a moment. "Will it help?" "No, but I'll feel better." She almost smiled. "Then do it." Luca looked at her, surprised. Elena met his gaze. "He hurt me, threatened to torture me. Record it, send it to you. So yeah, if you need to make him suffer, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to judge you, because I understand now." "Understand what?" "That your world doesn't have room for mercy. That the only way to survive is to be more brutal than your enemies. That everything you've done, every terrible choice, was to protect the people you love." Elena's voice cracked. "I get it now, all of it, and I'm not running anymore." Luca's expression broke. He pulled her closer, pressed his forehead to hers. "You shouldn't have to live like this," he whispered. "I know, but I'm choosing it anyway." They stayed like that until Anton pulled up to Luca's building. Inside his penthouse, Luca led Elena to the bathroom, sat her on the edge of the bathtub, got out a first aid kit. "This is going to hurt," he said quietly. Elena nodded. He cleaned the cut on her shoulder. It wasn't deep, wouldn't need stitches, but it burned like hell when the antiseptic hit. Elena hissed, gripped the edge of the tub. Luca worked quickly, efficiently. When he finished, he bandaged her wrists, her face, every injury Victor had left. "You should see a doctor," he said. "I'm fine." "Elena, I'm fine, Luca." He met her eyes, nodded. Elena stood. Her legs were steadier now. She walked into the living room, poured herself whiskey from Luca's bar, drank it in one swallow. It burned going down. Luca followed, watched her. "I need to tell you something," Elena said. "Okay." "The FBI approached me, Agent Carver. He wanted me to wear a wire, gather evidence, help them arrest you." She poured another drink. "I was in the bookstore trying to decide what to do when Victor's guys grabbed me." Luca's expression didn't change. "I know. I told you that. I mean, I know you were trying to decide. Anton said you looked torn, scared, like you didn't know which way to jump." Elena laughed, bitter. "I didn't. I spent days agonizing over it, trying to figure out if I could love a man who killed a cop, who runs a criminal empire, who operates outside every moral boundary I was raised to respect." "And what did you decide? That morality is a luxury, that right and wrong are neat little boxes that only work when everyone agrees to follow the same rules. But your world doesn't have those rules. It's survival, it's loyalty, it's protecting your own at any cost." Elena set the glass down. "Victor was going to torture me, kill me, send you pieces. And you know what I thought while he had that knife to my throat?" "What?" That I was glad you didn't negotiate. That I was glad you're ruthless enough to do whatever it takes. Because in that moment, your brutality was the only thing keeping me alive. Luca crossed the room, stood in front of her. You're not going to work with the FBI. No. They'll come after you. Let them. Elena. I'm done running, Luca. From you. From your world. From the truth. I spent 6 months hiding after Marcus destroyed me. Made myself invisible because I thought that was safety. But it's not. It's just another kind of prison. She looked up at him. I'd rather be visible and terrified beside you than invisible and safe alone. Luca's hands cupped her face. Gentle, reverent. You're sure? I'm sure. He kissed her. Not gentle, not patient, desperate. Like he'd been drowning and she was air. Elena kissed him back. Tasted blood and whiskey and something that felt like survival. When they finally broke apart, Luca pressed his forehead to hers. I love you. I know. I'll protect you, always. I know. But there are things coming. Fallout from Victor. The FBI won't stop. Other families will see what happened and try to test me. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Then we'll handle it. Luca pulled back, looked at her. You mean that? Yes. You'll stay. Even knowing what's coming? Elena thought about the woman she'd been 6 months ago. Timid, broken, hiding behind oversized sweaters and fear. That woman was gone. In her place was someone harder, someone who'd looked death in the eye and chosen to fight. Someone who understood that love wasn't soft or safe or simple. Sometimes love was standing beside a killer and calling him yours anyway. I'll stay, she said. Luca exhaled, like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. Then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen. His expression went cold. What? Elena asked. It's Carver. Elena's stomach dropped. Don't answer. I have to. He put it on speaker. Devereaux. Agent Carver. We need to talk. About what? About the warehouse in Red Hook, where you just murdered 4 men. About Victor Kozlov, who's currently in an ambulance barely alive. About Elena Moretti, who was kidnapped and is now with you instead of giving a statement to police. Luca's jaw tightened. What do you want? I want you to understand something. I know what happened tonight. I know Victor grabbed Elena. I know you went after her. And honestly, I don't blame you. If someone took someone I loved, I'd do the same thing. Then what's the problem? The problem is you left a trail. Bodies. Witnesses. Evidence. I can tie you to at least 3 murders tonight, maybe more. And unless you cooperate, I'm going to use every single one to bury you. I'm not cooperating. Then Elena goes down with you. Accessory after the fact. Conspiracy. Obstruction. I'll make sure she spends the next 10 years in prison. Elena felt ice in her veins. Luca's expression went dead. Don't threaten her. I'm not threatening. I'm explaining reality. You've got 24 hours to turn yourself in. Plead to manslaughter. Take a deal. Or I arrest both of you and throw everything I have at the wall. No deal. Luca, I said no deal. You want me? Come get me. But leave Elena out of this. She's already in it. She's a victim. Victor kidnapped her. I rescued her. That's the story. That's what happened. Except she's been dating you for weeks. She knows what you do. She's complicit. Prove it. Silence. 24 hours, Carver said finally. After that, I'm coming for both of you. The line went dead. Elena stared at the phone, then at Luca. He's bluffing, Luca said. What if he's not? Then we fight. Luca, he's the FBI. You can't fight the FBI. Watch me. Elena grabbed his arm. Stop. Just stop. This is exactly what I was afraid of, that being with you would destroy my entire life. I won't let that happen. You can't control this. Carver has evidence, witnesses. He's going to arrest us both, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's always something I can do. Like what? Kill a federal agent? That'll just make it worse. Luca pulled away. Paced. His hands clenched into fists. Elena watched him, saw the wheels turning, the calculations. The cold, brutal logic of a man who'd spent his life finding solutions to impossible problems. There's one option, he said finally. What? We run. Tonight, I've got accounts overseas, safe houses, fake identities. We disappear. Start over somewhere the FBI can't touch us. Elena's throat tightened. And leave everything behind? My life? My work? Sophia? It's the only way you stay out of prison. What about you? I'll be fine. I've been planning for this scenario for years. Luca, it's decided. Pack what you need. We leave in 2 hours. No. Luca stopped. What? I'm not running. Elena, you don't have a choice. If you stay, Carver arrests you. You go to prison. Then I go to prison. Are you insane? Maybe. But I'm done hiding. I'm done letting powerful men dictate my life. Marcus destroyed me and I ran. The FBI threatened me and I almost caved. Victor kidnapped me and I survived. I'm not running from Carver too. This is different. No, it's not. It's the same pattern. Someone threatens me and I'm supposed to disappear. Make myself small. Let them win. Elena shook her head. I'm not doing that anymore. You'll go to prison. Then you'll get me out. Lucas stared at her. How? I don't know. You're the criminal mastermind. Figure it out. For the first time, Luca looked genuinely scared. I can't lose you. You won't. But I need you to trust me, the way I'm trusting you. Luca was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay. Okay? We do this your way. No running. We face Carver. We fight. Elena exhaled, moved closer, wrapped her arms around him. Luca held her, tight, like if he let go she'd disappear. Whatever happens, Elena whispered, we face it together. Together, Luca agreed. They stood like that until the sun started rising over the city, and in 23 hours, the FBI would come for them both. 23 hours left. Elena didn't sleep. Neither did Luca. They spent the night in his penthouse going through options, contingencies, backup plans. Anton came and went with updates. Lawyers were called, money was moved, documents were prepared. But underneath all the strategy, Elena felt something settling into place. A strange calm, like standing at the edge of a cliff and deciding not to fight the fall anymore. She'd spent 6 months running from Marcus's destruction, spent weeks running from the truth about Luca, spent days running from the FBI. She was done running. At dawn, Luca made coffee. They sat at his kitchen counter watching the city wake up. Yellow cabs, delivery trucks, people going about their ordinary lives while Elena's entire world balanced on a knife edge. You can still change your mind, Luca said quietly. Get on a plane. Disappear. No. Elena, we've been through this. I'm staying. Luca's jaw tightened. He looked older in the morning light, tired, the kind of tired that came from years of fighting battles nobody else could see. I need to tell you something, he said. Elena turned. What? Victor's not dead. I know. Carver said he was in an ambulance. He's in a hospital, under guard, FBI protection. Luca's voice was flat. They're using him as a witness, against me, against my organization. He's going to testify that I run a criminal empire and that last night was attempted murder. Elena's stomach dropped. Can they make that stick? With Victor's testimony, yeah, they can. Then we fight it. Elena, he was there. He saw everything. My guys, the warehouse, the violence. No jury's going to believe it was self-defense. So what are you saying? Luca set his coffee down. I'm saying if this goes to trial, I lose. I go to prison for 20 years minimum, maybe life. Elena felt ice spreading through her chest. Then we make sure it doesn't go to trial. How? I don't know yet, but there's always a way. You taught me that. Luca almost smiled. When did you get so stubborn? I learned from the best. They sat in silence for a while. Elena thought about everything that had led here. The blind date, the quiet coffees, the moment she'd walked out of his penthouse thinking she was strong enough to leave, the moment she'd realized she wasn't. Love was never what she thought it would be. It wasn't soft or safe. It didn't heal you or complete you or make everything okay. Love was just choosing someone and deciding their destruction was worth sharing. Whatever happens today, Elena said quietly, I don't regret this. Any of it. Luca looked at her, really looked, like he was memorizing her face. Even if it ends badly? Even then. He reached across the counter, took her hand. His palm was warm, calloused, the hand of a man who'd built an empire with violence and will. Elena squeezed back. At noon, Luca's lawyer arrived, Miranda Chen, sharp in a gray suit, carrying a briefcase that probably cost more than Elena's rent. "We need to talk strategy," Miranda said without preamble. They moved to Luca's office. Miranda spread files across the desk. Police reports, FBI surveillance logs, witness statements. "This is what Carver has," she said. "It's not good. Viktor Kozlov is cooperating fully. He's giving them everything: names, operations, locations. He's been in Luca's organization for years before he split off. He knows enough to bury you." "Can we discredit him?" Luca asked. "We can try. He's a known criminal. His word isn't exactly gold, but combined with the FBI's surveillance, the financial records they've obtained, and the bodies from last night," Miranda shook her head, "it's a strong case. So what are our options? Plead out. Take a deal. 5 to 7 years instead of 20. You serve your time, get out, rebuild." "No." "Luca," I said no. "I'm not pleading to crimes I committed to protect my own people. Victor kidnapped Elena." I responded, "That's self-defense." Self-defense doesn't usually involve 4 dead bodies and torture. Victor had a knife to her throat. Miranda's expression softened slightly. She glanced at Elena. "Are you willing to testify? Tell the jury what happened?" Elena nodded. "Yes. It'll be brutal. Carver's going to paint you as Luca's accomplice. A woman so enamored with a criminal that you'll say anything to protect him. They'll dig into your past. Marcus Whitfield, your broken engagement. They'll make you look unstable." "Let them." Miranda studied her. "You're sure? Because once you testify, there's no taking it back. You'll be on record, tied to Luca permanently in every legal sense." "I'm already tied to him." Miranda nodded slowly. "Okay? Then here's what we do. We argue that Elena was a victim, kidnapped by Viktor Kozlov in a failed attempt to leverage Luca. Luca responded to save her. Yes, people died, but it was a rescue operation, not a hit. We paint Viktor as the aggressor, Luca as the protector." "Will it work?" Luca asked. "Honestly, I don't know. A lot depends on the jury, on how sympathetic Elena comes across, on whether Carver can tie you to enough prior crimes to establish a pattern." Miranda closed the files. "But it's the best shot we have." "Then we take it." Miranda stood. "Carver's going to come for you soon. When he does, you go peacefully. No resistance, no theatrics. You cooperate fully. Understood?" "Understood." After Miranda left, Elena and Luca sat in his office. The city sprawled below them through floor-to-ceiling windows, gray clouds rolling in from the east. Rain coming. "Are you scared?" Elena asked. "Terrified." "You don't look it. I've had a lot of practice hiding it." Luca turned to her. "But yeah, I'm scared. Not of prison. I can handle that. I'm scared of what happens to you while I'm gone. Scared that I've destroyed your life by letting you get close to me. You didn't destroy anything. I chose this. You chose me before you knew what it would cost. I knew. Maybe not all the details, but I knew loving you would be hard, dangerous, that it would change me in ways I couldn't predict." Elena moved closer. "And I chose it anyway, because being safe and alone was killing me slower than being with you ever could." Luca pulled her close, held her. Elena pressed her face against his chest and listened to his heartbeat. Steady, strong. They stayed like that until Anton knocked on the door. "Boss, FBI's downstairs." Luca released Elena. His expression went smooth, controlled, the mask sliding back into place. "Let them up." Elena's heart hammered. This was it. The moment everything changed. Luca took her hand. "Whatever happens, I love you." "I love you too." The elevator doors opened. Agent Carver stepped out, flanked by 4 other agents. He looked tired, grim, like he'd spent the night dreading this as much as they had. "Luca Devereaux," Carver said, "you're under arrest for murder, kidnapping, racketeering, and conspiracy to commit violent crimes. You have the right to remain silent." "I know my rights," Luca said calmly. One of the agents moved forward with handcuffs. Elena's throat closed. Watching them cuff Luca felt like watching someone drown. He didn't resist, didn't fight, just stood there with his hands behind his back, jaw tight, eyes on her. "Elena Moretti," Carver continued, You're also under arrest as an accessory after the fact and for obstruction of justice. Elena's vision tunneled. What? You knew about Luca's crimes. You failed to report them. You actively participated in covering them up. That makes you an accessory. That's bullshit, Luca said. Voice low, dangerous. It's the law, Carver replied. Another agent moved toward Elena with cuffs. Elena held out her wrists. The metal was cold, heavy. She'd never been arrested before, never even had a speeding ticket. Now she was a criminal. Carver's expression was almost apologetic. You both have the right to an attorney. I suggest you use it. They were led to the elevator, down to the street. 2 separate cars waited. Elena was pushed toward one, Luca toward another. Wait, Elena said. Please, just 1 second. The agents hesitated. Elena turned to Luca. Their eyes met, and in that look she saw everything: fear, love, regret, determination. We'll get through this, she said. Luca nodded. Together. Then they were separated. Elena was shoved into the back of a car, driven through the city she'd called home her whole life, past familiar streets and coffee shops and the bookstore where all of this had started. She wondered if she'd ever see any of it again as a free woman. The holding cell was small, gray concrete, metal bench. One other woman sat in the corner, looking strung out and vacant. Elena sat on the opposite end, pressed her back against the wall, tried to breathe. Hours passed. Nobody came. Nobody explained what was happening. Finally, a guard appeared. Moretti, your lawyer's here. Elena was led to a small room. Miranda sat at a metal table, looking exhausted. Are you okay? Miranda asked. Define okay. Fair. Miranda opened her briefcase. Here's where we are. Carver's charging you as an accessory. He's claiming you knew about Luca's criminal activities and failed to report them. He's also alleging you helped Luca evade arrest last night by not immediately calling the police after the warehouse incident. I was kidnapped. I was traumatized. I know. And that's our defense. But Carver's going to argue that you've been involved with Luca for weeks, that you had plenty of time to report him before last night. Elena's hands clenched. So what do? We fight. We put you on the stand, tell your story, make the jury understand that you were a victim, not a criminal. Miranda leaned forward. But Elena, I need you to be honest with me. Did you know about Luca's crimes before last night? Elena was quiet. Elena? Yes. I knew. Miranda closed her eyes. How long? Weeks. He told me about his organization, his father's empire, everything. And you didn't report it? No. Why not? Elena met her eyes. Because I loved him, and because I didn't believe turning him in was the right thing to do. Miranda rubbed her face. That's going to be a problem. I know. Carver's going to crucify you with that. He's going to paint you as complicit, as someone who chose a criminal over the law. Isn't that what I did? Legally, yes. But juries are unpredictable. If we can make them sympathize with you, make them understand that you were a woman who'd been hurt before and found someone who made you feel safe, we might have a chance. And if we don't? Miranda's expression was grim. Then you're looking at 5 to 10 years. Elena felt the room tilt. 5 to 10 years. In prison. For loving the wrong man. What about Luca? She asked. Luca's facing multiple life sentences. Victor's testimony is damning. The physical evidence is overwhelming. Unless we can find a way to discredit Victor or prove Luca was acting in pure self-defense, he's going away for a very long time. There has to be something we can do. There is. You can testify against him. Cut a deal with Carver. Tell the FBI everything you know about Luca's organization. In exchange, you walk free. Elena's stomach turned. No. Elena, I'm not betraying him. You'll go to prison. Then I go to prison. Miranda stared at her. You're willing to throw your life away for a man who kills people? I'm willing to stand by someone I love, even when it's hard, even when it costs me everything. Elena's voice shook. That's what love is, isn't it? Not the easy parts, the hard ones, the parts where you have to choose between survival and loyalty, and you choose loyalty anyway. Miranda was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, then we fight, both of you, together. Dude. The trial took 3 months to start. 3 months of Elena sitting in her apartment under house arrest. 3 months of seeing Luca only through video calls from jail. 3 months of Sophia bringing her food and holding her while she cried. Marcus tried to contact her once, a smug email about how he'd always known she'd end up in trouble. Elena deleted it without responding. The FBI tried to flip her twice more. Carver visited personally, offered immunity, freedom, a fresh start. Elena said no both times. Finally, the trial began. The courtroom was packed, media everywhere. Elena sat behind the defense table wearing a simple dress Sophia had picked out. She looked small, ordinary, exactly what Miranda wanted. Luca sat beside his lawyer in an expensive suit, looking calm. But when he glanced back at Elena, she saw the fear underneath. They spent the first week on jury selection. Then Carver began his case. He was brutal. He brought in FBI agents who testified about years of surveillance, financial experts who traced Luca's money through offshore accounts, former associates who described the violence, the threats, the murders. Then he brought in Victor Kozlov. Victor limped to the stand, still healing from what Luca had done to him. He looked directly at Luca while he testified, described years of working in the Devereaux organization, deals he'd witnessed, people who'd disappeared, money that flowed through dark channels. Then he described kidnapping Elena. "Why did you take her?" Carver asked. "To get leverage. Devereaux was expanding into my territory. I needed to make him back off." "And what happened when you called him?" "He refused to negotiate, said he'd kill me instead." "What did you do then?" Victor's eyes flicked to Elena. "I was going to hurt her, make him listen, but before I could, he showed up with his guys. Killed 4 of my men, beat me until I couldn't move." "Was Miss Moretti in danger?" "Not from me. I wasn't going to kill her, just scare her, use her. But Devereaux came in like it was a war, didn't ask questions, just started killing. It was a lie, a calculated lie. Victor had absolutely been planning to torture her. But on the stand, under oath, he made it sound like Luca had overreacted, had killed people unnecessarily. Miranda cross-examined, poked holes in his timeline, pointed out his criminal history. But the damage was done. The jury looked at Luca like he was a monster. Then Carver called Elena to the stand. Elena's legs shook as she walked up, took the oath, sat down. Carver approached slowly. "Miss Moretti, how long have you known Luca Devereaux?" "About 4 months." "And during that time, did you become romantically involved?" "Yes." "When did you learn about his criminal activities?" Elena's throat was dry. "About 6 weeks in." "And what was your response?" "I left him." "But you came back." "Yes." "Why?" Elena looked at Luca. He was watching her, face unreadable, but his hands were clenched on the table. "Because I loved him," Elena said simply. "Even knowing he was a criminal?" "Yes." "Even knowing he'd killed people?" "Yes." Carver's expression hardened. "Miss Moretti, are you aware that failure to report a crime is itself a crime?" "I am now." "Yet you chose not to report Luca Devereaux's activities to authorities." "I chose to stand by someone I cared about." "At the expense of justice?" "At the expense of my own safety, maybe. But not justice. Because justice isn't always as simple as law and order. Sometimes it's protecting someone who's been protecting others." Carver's jaw tightened. "No further questions." Miranda stood for redirect. "Elena, when Victor Kozlov kidnapped you, were you afraid?" "Terrified." "Did you believe he would hurt you?" "Yes. He had a knife to my throat. He said he was going to torture me, record it, send it to Luca. And when Luca arrived, what happened?" "He saved my life." "Did he have to use violence to do that?" "Yes. Victor wouldn't let me go. Luca had no choice." "So in your understanding, Luca acted to protect you?" "Yes. Absolutely." Miranda nodded. No further questions. The trial dragged on. More witnesses, more evidence, more arguments about what constituted self-defense versus murder. Finally, closing arguments. Carver painted Luca as a ruthless criminal who'd built an empire on violence and fear. Painted Elena as a deluded woman too in love to see the truth. Miranda painted Luca as a man who'd grown up in a violent world but tried to protect those he loved. Painted Elena as a victim who'd been caught in circumstances beyond her control. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back, Elena couldn't breathe. The foreman stood. On the charge of first-degree murder, we find the defendant not guilty. Elena's heart lurched. On the charge of manslaughter, we find the defendant guilty. The room erupted. Reporters shouted. The judge banged her gavel. Elena couldn't hear anything except the ringing in her ears. Guilty. Luca was going to prison. The judge continued. Mr. Devereaux, you'll be sentenced in 30 days. Until then, you'll remain in custody. As for Miss Moretti, Elena's stomach dropped. Given your cooperation with this court and your status as a victim in the kidnapping, I'm dismissing the accessory charges. You're free to go. Elena couldn't process it. Free? She was free. But Luca wasn't. She looked at him. He was already looking back. And he smiled. Small, sad, but real. Like he'd known this was coming. Like he'd planned for it. Guards moved to take him away. Wait, Elena said. Please, just 1 minute. The judge hesitated, then nodded. Elena rushed to the defense table. Luca stood. They faced each other across the barrier between free and captive. I'm sorry, Elena whispered. Don't be. You testified. You told the truth. That's all I wanted. But you're going to prison. For manslaughter, not murder. That's a win, Elena. 5 to 7 years instead of life. I can handle that. 5 to 7 years is a lifetime. It's a fraction of what I'd already lost before I met you. Luca reached out, took her hand through the barrier. Listen to me. You're going to leave this courthouse. You're going to go back to your bookstore. You're going to restore buildings and live your life. And you're not going to wait for me. What? I mean it. You're free. Actually free. Don't waste that sitting around waiting for me to get out. Luca, I love you. I will always love you, but I'm not letting you put your life on hold for a man in prison. You deserve more than that. Tears burned Elena's eyes. I don't want more. I want you. Then want me from a distance. Want me while you're living, building, growing into the person you were always supposed to be. Luca's voice cracked. Promise me you won't wait. I can't promise that. Elena, I can't. Because I don't know how to stop loving you just because you're not here. I don't know how to walk away. I tried that once and it almost killed me. So no, I'm not promising to move on. I'm promising to be here when you get out. However long that takes. Luca's eyes were wet. You're so stubborn. I learned from you. The guard stepped forward. Time's up. I'm shade. Elena squeezed Luca's hand one last time. I'll be here. Every visiting day. Every phone call. Every letter. I'm not going anywhere. Luca nodded. Couldn't speak. They pulled him away. Elena watched him disappear through the courthouse doors and felt something break inside her chest. But she didn't fall apart. She stood there, breathing, surviving, because that's what you did when you loved someone. You stood. 6 years later, Elena unlocked the door to her office in the restored brownstone in Brooklyn. The building had taken 4 years to complete. Every detail perfect, original moldings preserved, modern touches integrated seamlessly with historic character. It was her masterpiece. She'd named it the Devereaux Center for Historic Preservation, a nonprofit that restored forgotten buildings and trained young architects in restoration techniques. Luca's money had funded it. Money Miranda had helped move before the trial. Clean money. Legal money. Enough to build something that would last. Elena sat at her desk and opened her laptop, checked her email, responded to grant applications, reviewed blueprints for their next project. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I'm out. Elena's heart stopped. She grabbed her coat, ran. The prison was 2 hours upstate. Elena made it in 90 minutes, speeding the whole way. Luca was waiting outside the gates. He looked different, leaner, harder. His hair was shorter, streaked with gray. He wore clothes that didn't quite fit, but his eyes were the same. Elena stopped 10 feet away. They stared at each other. 6 years, 2,000 days, hundreds of visits and phone calls and letters. But nothing compared to this. Standing in the same space, breathing the same air. You waited, Luca said. His voice was rough, like he'd forgotten how to use it properly. I told you I would. I told you not to. I'm stubborn. Luca laughed. It sounded broken. Yeah, you are. Elena crossed the space between them, wrapped her arms around him, held on like he might disappear. Luca held her back, tight, desperate. I missed you, Elena whispered against his chest. I missed you too. They stood like that for a long time, just breathing, existing, together. Finally, Luca pulled back. What now? Elena smiled. Now we go home. Where's home? Wherever we decide it is. She took his hand, led him to her car. They drove back to the city in silence. Comfortable silence. The kind that came from knowing someone so well, words weren't always necessary. Elena took him to the Devereaux Center, showed him the finished building, the classrooms, the workshop, the library filled with books about restoration and architecture and second chances. You did this? Luca asked, voice quiet, awed. We did. Your money. My vision. Anton helped coordinate everything while you were gone. Sophia handled the PR. Even Vivian donated. Elena turned to him. It's yours. If you want it, a chance to build something clean, something that helps people instead of hurting them. Luca walked slowly through the space, ran his hands over the restored woodwork, the repaired stairs, the chandelier they'd salvaged from a demolished theater. It's beautiful, he said finally. It's proof that broken things can be fixed, that people who've lived in the dark can build something beautiful in the light. Luca looked at her, really looked. You still believe that, after everything? I have to, otherwise what was the point? He crossed to her, cupped her face. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. Luca kissed her, slow, careful, like he was relearning how. When they pulled apart, Elena rested her forehead against his. I love you. I never stopped. I love you too. So what now? Luca looked around the center, at the building Elena had spent 6 years creating, at the future she'd built while he was locked away. Now we figure out how to live, he said. For real this time. No lies, no secrets, just us. Just us, Elena agreed. They stayed in the center until the sun set. Talking, planning, imagining a life neither of them had thought possible 6 years ago. Outside, the city glowed, alive, relentless, full of broken people trying to rebuild. And inside the Devereaux Center, 2 of those broken people held each other and believed that maybe, just maybe, they'd survive the worst of it. Elena knew it wouldn't be easy. Knew Luca would have to rebuild his reputation. Knew there would be parole officers and restrictions and people who'd never let him forget what he'd been. But they'd face it together, the way they'd faced everything else. 3 months later, they were married in the center's main hall beneath a restored chandelier. Small ceremony. Just Sophia and Marco. Anton. A few others who'd stuck around through the chaos. Vivian Devereaux sat in the front row, elegant and unreadable, but Elena caught her wiping tears when Luca said his vows. I promise to protect you, Luca said. Not from everything. Because some battles you need to fight yourself. But I promise to stand beside you, to be honest, to love you even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Elena's voice shook when she responded. I promise to see you. Not the man you were, not the man you think you should be, just the man you are. Flawed, complicated, mine. They kissed while their tiny audience applauded. And as Luca held Elena close, she realized something that had taken 6 years to understand. Love wasn't redemption. It wasn't salvation or fixing or making someone whole. Love was just choosing someone, over and over, through prison and trials and impossible choices. It was standing beside someone and saying, I see your darkness, I know your sins, and I choose you anyway. That night they danced in the empty center while rain fell against the windows. No music, just the sound of their breathing, their footsteps, their hearts finally beating in sync. Are you happy? Luca asked quietly. Elena thought about it, about Marcus and betrayal and learning to disappear, about meeting Luca and slowly becoming visible again, about the FBI and Victor and sitting in a courtroom while a judge decided her fate, about 6 years of visiting a man in prison and believing he was worth waiting for. "Yeah," she said, "I am. Even with everything that happened? Because of everything that happened. It broke me. Us. Everything. But we rebuilt. That's what matters." Luca pulled her closer. "I don't know what I did to deserve you." "You didn't deserve me. You just loved me. That was enough." They swayed together while the city sprawled beyond the windows, broken and beautiful, brutal and kind. A place where monsters could become men and women who'd learned to disappear could finally be seen. Elena rested her head against Luca's chest and listened to his heartbeat. Steady, strong, alive. And for the first time in 6 years, she felt something she'd almost forgotten how to feel. Hope. Not the naive kind. Not the kind that believed everything would be easy or perfect or safe, but the kind that understood survival was its own kind of victory. They'd survived. Scarred. Changed. Stronger than they'd been before. And that was enough. It had to be. Because the strongest things weren't the untouched things. They were the ones rebuilt after destruction. The ones that learned to stand again. The ones that chose love even when love was the hardest choice of all. Outside, New York glowed in the rain. And inside the Devereaux Center, two broken people held each other and believed in second chances. Not because they were guaranteed, but because they'd earned them, together.